is Felicia Wright, and this is the Go Rogue podcast. Do you feel stuck? Does every day feel like Groundhog's Day? Well, I'm here to tell you it's time to take charge of your life and know that you are meant for more than this. It's time to go rogue. This podcast is for people that are ready to say enough is enough and discover their new normal with entrepreneurship. Get ready because your rogue journey starts now. Let's get into it. What's up, ladies, and welcome to episode 10 of the Go Rogue podcast. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about what you should do when you are feeling resistance toward a task or anything in your life. And this episode was inspired by actually one of my clients. We were talking and there was some tasks that she wanted to get done, and she was feeling a ton of resistance toward those tasks, and we really broke it down. I just wanted to share some of those tips that I shared with her. And it was actually a really great session with my client. I actually really love my clients. They're so amazing. And I don't think they realize, like, some of them, I'm like, oh, you should be my friend. Like, we should be friends. Like, sometimes I just want to chat it up with them the whole time, but we have to get down to business. Anywho, so there's 3 things that I really wanted to go over. What to do when you're feeling that resistance. So say you feel like you need to do a Facebook Live or anything like that, and you're feeling all this resistance and you just don't want to do it. You keep putting it off. So that's really what I'm talking about in this episode. So the first thing, when you start feeling that resistance, I want you to ask yourself, why do you feel so much resistance toward this task? What is it really about? Is it something that you're not familiar with? Maybe it's something that doesn't make sense for you, or you're just not feeling very confident toward the task. And if that's the case, I really want you to get a piece of paper and write it out, like why you are feeling the resistance and why you aren't feeling very confident. And you'll see, like, once you start writing it out and journaling it, sometimes you can work through that problem. And then sometimes you just realize, like, oh, it's just a confidence thing. And really, there's nothing to be afraid of. And if you think back in your life when you did something that you weren't confident in, what was the result? I know for me personally, when I step outside of my comfort zone and I do something that I really don't want to do, when I'm on the other side of that task, I feel so much better. So when you write down why you're not feeling confident or whatever you're feeling, think about another time you felt that way and what happened on the other side of that task. What was the result after you did that task that you didn't want to do? So really think about that, because for me, most of the time when I look back, I was like, oh, what was I so afraid of? What was I so scared of? Like, I didn't die. Like, what was I thinking? So knowing that and remembering those times can help you push through the confidence barrier or push through whatever you're scared of. And that's really helpful. And when you're writing it down, you might start realizing, it's like, you know what, this actually doesn't make sense for me to do right now. Like, I can put this off. It might not be a priority. So writing through that resistance and trying to figure out what the core issue is really, really helpful. Number 2, I want you to really figure out, is it a priority or not? Because if it's not a priority, don't do it. Because if you are trying to force yourself to do something, force yourself, you're really just wasting time on that activity that you keep putting off. So for example, I am not a big blogger. It's just writing blogs is just not my zhuzh. Like I'm a good writer actually, but I just don't enjoy doing it. I actually can talk all day long. Obviously I have a podcast, but when it comes to like writing out a blog, like it's just not something that I like to do. So I find myself putting it off and not doing it. And I just realized it's like, you know what? Okay, I have the podcast. We're just going to roll with that for now. So if you find that you are struggling through things, really ask yourself, is it something that you need to get done right now? And if it's not, you can put it off and maybe you table that for now and then you get back to it later. Or you can ask somebody for help. I know when I get stuck on anything, I start asking for help. I lean on my support system, and if you don't have a support system, go out and find one. I can't stress that enough. People, it's so important to have a sounding board for somebody to be like, hey, what are you doing? Or, hey, you're doing great. It goes both ways, and you have to be comfortable with hearing both sides, but have somebody to lean on. It's like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. I actually have a friend. We meet once every 2 weeks, and today we are meeting. I'm super, super excited, and she's my sounding board, and I'm hers. And since I was out of town last week, we haven't met in like a month, and it's hurting my soul. But anyway, I'm really excited to see her today. But we bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes like, my ideas are just so grandiose, and she's like, whoa, Felicia, you need to calm down, like pump the brakes, girl, pump the brakes, like calm down. So it's really helpful to have her there to tell me when I'm being ridiculous, because we can all be ridiculous. I'll be the first to admit it. I am very ridiculous. I can be extra sometimes with the drama, but my friend and then my husband, they talk me down. So get some help if you need it. And then if you're still feeling the resistance towards something, maybe it's something that you can outsource to somebody else. Ask somebody else to do it. Pay somebody else to do whatever is troubling you, because I guarantee you're just wasting time hemming and hawing about whatever you think you need to do. Because I waste time all the time thinking about, oh, I should be doing this, and then it's just a waste. Like, what? Gosh darn it, I was thinking about that for like 30 minutes when I could have been doing something else. So outsource it or get some help. And then the last tip that I have for you, and this is like the biggie, I want you to hit the easy button. So what does that mean? So hitting the easy button is, if you have a task that you want to get done and you're looking at it and you're like, well, how do I do this? And I'm talking about the technical stuff like, hey, your email responder, the podcast host, and all that stuff. Maybe there's a way for you to make your life simpler. So for example, recently I really took a hard look at some of the tools that I have been paying for. And in the online space, it's so easy to get wrapped up in like, oh, I'm going to buy this tool for $12 a month, and I'm going to buy this tool for $10 a month, and I'm going to buy this one. And then before you know it, you have all the things, but you still find yourself looking for more things, but you haven't used the first couple of things that you bought. So I know personally, I went through all the things that I had and I got rid of quite a few. And the way I did that was I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, I haven't used this in a month. Delete. I haven't used this in 2 months. Delete. And it just feels easier. You want to do something that makes you feel like easy and lightweight, because all those tools and different things was weighing me down, really. So if you can eliminate some of the tools that you're not even using, good, because that's weighing you down. Also, if you're trying to do a specific task and you know kind of what you need to do, but it just still feels overwhelming, look for a different route to do the exact same thing. I promise you, if you sit down with it and try to brainstorm different ways to do something, but easier for you, you will come up with something. I do that like when I actually sit down and ponder and think like, hey, I got to figure out an easier way to do this, because this hard way that I know in my brain, I know in a million years this isn't going to happen. I'm just going to go sit on the couch and watch Netflix. So think about an easier way to do something, because I almost guarantee it can be done an easier way. So I hope that was helpful. If you're feeling resistance out there, definitely let me know. I know we all feel it. The easiest way to deal with it is that easy button. Trust me, once you really start to think, you will find it. So definitely let me know what you're struggling with. If you want to join other entrepreneurs and other women on their Go Rogue journey, head over to bit.ly/Rogue Community. That is a community that I have set up on Facebook with other people on their rogue journey as well. If you like this podcast, please give me a review and let me know how you feel about it, and anything else you want to see on this podcast. Please share it with anybody that you think would benefit from this episode or any previous episodes, and I really appreciate it. So go out there and take inspired action today. Bye.